So you really clicked this video. Alright, here are some cruel execution methods. Ever have like a hot burrito or something, you take a bite and you are like, ow, this is hot. Well, imagine that but many magnitudes worse, and even that would not even begin to describe the agony of having molten metal poured down your throat. Created out of ironic symbolism, this method of execution was reserved for those who truly needed to swallow their pride. Take for example the wealthy Roman commander Manius Achillas. His papa, also named Manius, was a ruthless and greedy governor that forced harsh taxes on the general public. Well, like father, like son, said the people, fully expecting Manius Jr. to become a greedy butthole himself. That is one heck of an assumption to make, but condemning people to death for fun was kind of the thing to do in ancient Rome. After suffering defeat at the hands of Anatun and ruler Mithridates the Great during the First Mithraic War in the year 89 BC, Manius was captured and eventually executed. When picking a suitable method to send Manius into the Great Bedbath and beyond, he really decided to go for the gold. Yeah, he just dumped melted metal down Manius's food hole as a testament to his greed and thirst for power. So what the heck does ingesting molten metal do to the human body? Not good things at all. Molten gold sits at around 1000 degrees Celsius, so the instant that the metal contacts the flesh, it will instantly vaporize any inherent moisture into steam. In doing so, the metal will cool and harden, essentially creating a big metal plug in your throat, causing suffocation. Now here is a science lesson for you today. Science lesson. When liquids evaporate to a gas, they expand very quickly. Rapid expansion in a closed system, like say your body, creates severe pressure. Considering that your internal organs are not built for such extreme pressures, you can probably see where this causes a problem. But do not worry, it sorts itself out rather quick, because your organs rupture. The good news is that you would probably pass out and die before you even get to the point of having your internals turn into a 4th of July display. Immurement is just a fancy word for live entombment, which is pretty self-explanatory. It is one of those punishments that introverts would be like, oh hell yeah dude, until they realize that they cannot go downstairs to get more Doritos, and that they are just probably going to die in there. And if you have ever played Minecraft with your buddies, you probably experienced Immurement firsthand when you came back to your room after mommy gave you. You're right, in the practice was unsurprisingly mainly performed in the Roman Empire, but it has been seen in other areas like ancient Persia or Mongolia. Man, who do they put in charge of coming up with all these execution ideas? I love my job. This signature send-off method was usually reserved for virgin priestesses who were found guilty of breaking their chastity vows by getting on their knees and praying on some dong. However, there is historical evidence to suggest that it was used in other ways too, like mass entombment for prisoners of war, a punishment for thieves, or even just silly self-sacrifice and fellows who voluntarily walled themselves in for religious purposes or just because they do not like people. So yeah, all those poor unfortunate souls would be sealed in a room no bigger than a New York apartment, while the lucky ones were placed in something a little bit more reasonable. Being completely sealed in means there is no light, no sound, or fresh air, so do not Dutch oven yourself, damn it. Being isolated, you are just left to lose your goddamn mind in complete darkness and silence, as your body wastes away from starvation and dehydration. Unless, of course, you accidentally trip over a rock and whack your melon on the stone wall. Trees are pretty useful. They convert carbon dioxide into oxygen, can be used for building materials, and can even help you execute your enemies. Oh, you did not know that last one. Well, let me explain. Sure, you could convert your enemies to a cool windchime on a tree, but why not go all out? That is what Roman Emperor Aurelian thought, at least. Being emperor and all, Aurelian was a bit of a control freak. He demanded only the finest behavior from his numerous army soldiers. That being the case, any thoughts of drinking, gambling, stealing, pillaging, and all the stuff soldiers typically did were tossed out the window. Every man was expected to be in tip-top shape, with their armor polished and their weapons sharp at a moment's notice. So it was just an army of a bunch of lame straight-edged dorks. Bit of a buzzkill, right? Those who refused to follow such protocols were setting themselves up for some severe punishment, not even the kind that some people would find fun. Except this guy, for example. One soldier decided to have a fellow soldier's wife polish his spear in private, but the spear was his wiener, and in Aurelian's all-seeing perverted eyes, that is a big no-no. And now he had to make a choice. How is he going to make an example of this man to his fellow soldiers? Well, any good leader is resourceful, so why not harness the power of Mother Nature to do the trick? Oh look, 2 trees. What are you going to do with those? Tie me to each one and have them rip me apart. That is what he is going to do. As a reasonable punishment, the soldier had his limbs strapped to 2 young trees, which were forced into a bent, crossed position. Once released, the spry, springy saplings did a solid conversion of potential energy to kinetic energy, ripping the soldier in 2 and giving visual confirmation that a lesson had been learned. Hey, what is cooking? It is me. Well, I must have been a bad boy because getting boiled alive was generally reserved for those who were guilty of murder, but the only thing I am guilty of is killing some bruskies. Am I right, fellas? Used in medieval Europe as far back as 1392, boiling alive was the choice punishment for other crimes as well: treason, forgery, counterfeiting, thievery, grape without the G, swindling, you name it. Even the Japanese were on the hot topic of boiling their criminals. Legendary thief and Robin Hood equivalent Ishikawa Gon was boiled alive with his son in 1594 after they tried to assassinate a warlord. I mean, what did you think would happen? Even though it is pretty straightforward, humans have found different ways to make boiling someone alive more entertaining. For instance, what liquid is being used? Water is great and all, but that is as boring as it gets, so instead, use something with a little more oomph like oil or tar. Now here is another quick science lesson. Another science lesson. Water, as I am sure you know, boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Sorry fellow Americans, we are working with metric today, but you will still get the point. Once a liquid reaches a boiling point, the liquid cannot physically get any hotter in normal atmospheric conditions, so it vaporizes to a gas. So, in a sense, you hit a limit of pain able to be inflicted on your victim. No need to worry though, because you can always upgrade your cauldron juice. You see, oil has an average boiling point of 200 degrees Celsius, and tar can get up to 500 degrees, and when it is that hot, you will easily be able to melt skin right off your victim, like some tender baby back ribs from Chili's. Another way you can get creative is how you want to boil your prisoner. Want to just plop them in, slowly lower them? Or how about you just have them sit in there as it heats up? You know, there is definitely a small window in there where it actually feels nice for a bit. Then the boiling happens, and that can get pretty hard to watch. Hey, do you think we should hold up, let him cook? Now here is where we get down to the real gruesome stuff, but this time the Romans are left to the wayside. Now we swing our attention to the Norse. You know, like the Vikings. They were pretty tame people, right? Right from around the year 8800 to 1100 in Northern Europe, the Vikings were adamant explorers that would often pick fights with people that they thought they could conquer, which was pretty much everyone, even themselves. They raided and pillaged and plundered in the name of their many gods under the polytheistic Old Norse paganism. Although relatively wild and strong warrior people, the Vikings did have laws to follow. Insults and small crimes were punishable by embarrassing acts like public tarring and feathering. But the bigger the crime, the bigger the punishment. Cheat on your spouse, lose a limb. Stole from a neighbor, now you are their slave. Caught in a lie, well, time to carry around hot burning coals for a while. All is well and good, but no punishment was as extreme as the blood eagle. Being in execution, of course, the goal is death, but might as well make it as painful as possible to really send a message, like, hey, do not do bad things, this could be you. Although it was rarely done, the blood eagle went like this. The first thing you are going to want to do is have your victim lying flat on their tummy like so. Then give them a nice pat on the back to reassure them that everything is going to be absolutely horrible. Get a nice sharp knife and push it into the back and pull through the flesh, showing the spine. Next, you are going to want to start breaking each one of these little ribs here. Give your bone doctor skills a try and just give them a nice good crack. Hear that? Yeah, that is what we are looking for. Now just bloom those nice ribs out like a fresh flower. As a final touch, grab both lungs. Do not worry, he will not be needing them, and rip them out so they loosely look like wings. And there you have it, one blood eagle please. Subscribe. Oh boy, Scaphism, also called the boats. This was by no means a fun cruise. Imagine you are on a nice relaxing fishing trip with your dad. You are having a good time, he is having a beer. You are getting a few bites here and there, he is having another beer. You are excited about what kind of fish you might catch to make your old man proud. He's on his 10th beer. And then you start to realize something. Your dad could not be there because your parents had a messy breakup decades ago, and he did not get any visit time because of his very bad drinking. After that, you never saw him again until you buried him. You are alone in this boat. How long has it been? Must be. You look down and you see your body in bad shape, open sores with flies and rats tearing at your flesh. You are rotting in your own filth, and the infection is spreading. You cannot even feel it anymore. You cannot feel anything anymore, except that sun, that hot sun, cooking, burning you. You look to the sky once more, and there you see him. You see him again. You want to reach out, but your hands are tied. I am ready, you say with all the strength you have left. Hi, ready, Jesus. I am dead. That is kind of what it was like to experience Scaphism. Even without a sad backstory, it was a pretty painful experience. Made by the Persians around 500 BC, a victim sent to the boats would be tied down facing up in a boat. Sometimes there would even be a second boat placed on top, locking the victim's body except for their head, hands, and feet, which were tied down. The victim would be force-fed and covered in honey and poop juice until they threw up from their front hole and their back hole. The boat would be sent off in a pond and left out in the sunlight. Over time, the bad smell attracted groups of insects and rats that would eat the victim for days. The victim finally dies from infection, blood loss, no water, or hunger. One report had a soldier survive 17 days before finally dying from his wounds. Terrible. What can do? That ends another video. If you are into more stuff like this, you can check out painful torture methods here or any of my other content, really. I will see you over there.